Good evening. My name is Vince Noblet. I'm president of the Speedway Redevelopment Commission. Today is August 21st, 2017. It's 6 p.m. Call a meeting to order for the Speedway Redevelopment Commission. First, I want to go ahead and take a roll call. Bill Jones is out. Rhonda Schwartz.
Here.
Tom Popcheff.
Present.
Gordon Rundle.
Here.
Dr. Terry Reed.
Here.
Our Executive Director, Tim Gropp.
Here.
Also in attendance is President of Veritas Group, Tim Jensen. Thank you for coming. In the audience today, we have David Ravenberg from Scannell Corporation and Drew Loftus of Loftus Robinson. Thank you guys for coming. Next on the agenda is public comment. Anybody wishing to speak to the commission, please step forward. Just state your name and let us know your thoughts.
My name is Chuck Schuman, live on 4908 Baxter Drive. You're probably going to cover it, but I just wanted to get an update from you guys about what's the latest parking plan that's in the Wilshaw project, because I heard it's changed. The rumor is there's going to be no parking structure now. So if you could address that, and if that's true, how that affects the bond decision and whether or not bonds are needed and all that. I'm sure you're going to cover that. So,
Sure. Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, I'm going to move on. Next on the agenda is the consent of the executive session minutes of July 17th, 2017 and August 10th, 2017. These executive session minutes have been previously distributed to the commission. If there's no changes or discussions, I'll say that they're approved. Seeing none, hearing none, they're approved. Next is consent of the regular session minutes for July 17th, 2017. Again, these minutes have been previously distributed to the commission. If there's no changes or corrections, they'll be approved as submitted. Seeing or hearing none, they're approved as submitted. Next is the approval of claims and expenses have been sent out to the commission. Tim, you?
Yeah, I had a couple notes on this. One is you'll see the split with the music boosters for the Brickyard 400. We had the same group that helped us out through May, school-affiliated groups that were able to help us with the parking. A majority was the music boosters, choir, cheer, and we opened up to sports as well to help get enough volunteers. So we appreciate all their help, and we're happy to be able to split this money with them and help their organizations out.
Good.
A couple others of note in the regular claims. There's a claim in there for $3,200. That is the completion of the lot next to Yoga Latte, which is a public parking lot. We were able to reconfigure that and add about 7 spots in that area. So we put a new cut in off of Ford Drive, and that's what that expense is. That'll be one-way flow through there, and we'll be able to angle park it instead of what we had today. Also, the $55,000 from the 2016 Series A2 bond, that is the local match for the 16th and Lyndhurst road improvements. That is that expense. And then the lease revenue Series A1, 2016 Series A, that is reimbursement of the loan from the sewer for the purchase of the boat right earlier in the year. So we had a loan from both water and sewer, and we're able to repay that at this time.
Okay, good. Any other discussion? Okay, just need approval for the expenses.
I move that we accept the claim of expenses for Speedway Redevelopment Commission as submitted.
I'll second that.
Okay, I've got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries 4-0.
Question.
You have to hold it right now. I want to make sure that Drew and David knows that if nothing gets built, you guys will be parking cars next year.
It's fine. First of all.
And we'll move on over. Going next is the director's report.
Do you want to skip the project updates?
Well, they're going to get that.
Okay. Real quick on the director's report, these are items outside of our typical project updates. I want to let everybody know we've moved on to the coding portion of our new website. This is going to be a really nice addition. Our current website's in pretty poor shape and needs updated, so we're excited to keep that project moving forward, and we hope to have that new website up and running in the next couple months as we build content into it. The other thing is we continue to work on analyzing our TIF districts and making sure we have a really good handle on it. We did get the TIF neutralization forms in that were required to be in by September. And then we also were able to acquire all the auditor and assessor reports to analyze what our parcels are doing. So we're looking at parcels that were either that we have questions on right now. There were several that didn't make some sense. We feel that there might be some errors. So we're going through it parcel at a time and seeing what discrepancies there might be, working with London Witty, who's our CPA firm on this. And we found several that we want to sit down and take a look at and try and figure out why maybe there was missing data or that there was a decline in assessed value. And then we're going to set up a meeting with the assessor's office to talk about those parcels. There were only a handful that we saw on the first blush, but we're gonna take a look through it and make sure that everything's as it should be. They deal with a lot of parcels and errors can be made, so we want to make sure that we understand why the assessments were the way they were, whether there was appeals or other things that might have affected those that would in turn affect our TIF revenue. Then we'll continue to also work on the cash flow statements. As we get improved data, we continue to tweak our cash flow analysis for our TIF districts as well.
Speaking of that, the review of parcels, we need to set that up so we have a period of time in which it annually is done, I don't know, twice a year, once a year, so that we can make sure that those parcels are being properly assessed and that the commission is receiving the money that is due from that standpoint.
That's what we're working on currently.
But as long as we have a structured time frame when we get from there. Anything else?
That's it for right now.
All right, we'll move on back to project update. Today I've asked Drew and David to come in front of the public and just to give everybody an update on Wilshire Development. I want to thank both of you for coming. I don't know who would like to go first. Just
Thank
state
you.
your name and everything, give everybody.
Drew Loftus with Loftus Robinson. It'll probably be easier. I'm just going to speak on behalf of the project, although David Ravensburg, our partner from Skinnell, is here, as you noted this evening as well. So overall, we're making a lot of really positive progress. Appreciate everyone's help and coordination as we get everything dialed in and get ready to close and start construction. So from a timing perspective, I know we're getting a lot of questions. I'm sure you all do as well, but it looks like we're targeting to close on the project in the month of October, and then shortly thereafter actually start construction. Our target dates on delivery, we'll be looking at the end of 2018 for the multifamily component of the project, and then we'll be looking at summer of 2019, if not sooner, for the hotel portion to be completed. Working right now as well with the design team, and coordinating with both of our general contractors, Shield Sexton on the hotel and CRG on the multifamily component. Just a lot of kind of timing, coordination, and planning as we get ready to get started. So those groups are all working together actively on that plan, as well as we have engaged a parking consultant to help us and help everybody in the community optimize the site for absolutely as much parking as we can get. I can say with confidence that I think that from a zoning perspective, what we've previously presented and the public parking component of it, I believe that what we're going to ultimately wind up with and what we're targeting is to actually produce a net positive amount of public spots. So we think that'll be, positive both for the project and then for the public and folks parking on Main Street as well. Also, I'll just add that, the sizing of the bonds for the project, that's something that is going on and will be wrapped up as we prepare to close. It is sized as they've always been sized throughout the entire process, and that's just based off of assessed value. So none of that and none of those calculations and how the math is done on the bonds will be changing, again, in preparation to close. So all, very positive progress. Appreciate everyone's patience as we dealt with some things in the site that I don't think any of us fully expected or appreciated, both with existing utilities and with some environmental, but that's the nature of these types of projects. I think when you're looking at something of this size and of this significance, where these projects wind up being located, traditionally, it's Maine and Maine, so you're always dealing with these types of things. So, again, appreciate everyone's patience. We've tried to remain as persistent as possible. Hopefully you guys can all appreciate that. And we're looking forward to getting started. So I'm happy to answer any questions if you have them.
No, it's good. I know, the commission realizes that you guys, had a challenge in front of you in relationship to not only working around one of our central sewer lines, feeding into that area and then into Main Street, but also all the subsurface work that went on prior to, you purchasing the property. And when we purchase it as a parking lot, is a lot different than developing a residential facility there, so that you have to really understand exactly the history of that lot and take it, concerns in building a structure of what you're proposing from that standpoint. I can understand that.
Sure.
You might let the public know about, from a planning standpoint, going designing all this, because, you've done preliminary designs, now you're into detailed design.
Sure. Yeah, I'm happy to speak to that. So, through the design process, what we start with is something that we start making approvals with, both here and with the city of Indianapolis. That deals primarily with finishes, materials, obviously everyone making sure that what's going to be built is of high quality. From a materials perspective, brick, glass, things of that nature, which our project is. And from there, there's a lot of coordination with the architects and these sites, as both environmentally and other things. They're tight. There's a lot of pushing and pulling and just trying to get all the pieces to fit exactly right. And that's kind of the final piece, in addition to working with our general contractors from a constructability perspective, costing, budgets, as we prepare to bid the project in preparations for starting. All those things need to be kind of coordinated. So I think you have a lot of kind of parallel efforts that in the last 60 to 90 days all come together, and that's what enables you to get out and actually start, which we're very excited to be doing. So,
does anybody else have any questions for Drew at this point in time? Anything?
Anything to add from our side, Tim?
I don't think so. There's a lot of things that come down to the wire here as we're trying to get this thing across the finish line. So it's just a constant daily effort in dealing with these guys each and every day to make sure we're reactive on the town. Praxair has that was one question that we haven't really talked about too much, is that there's several agreements that go back and forth between the development and Praxair with regard to the fence and some easements and some other stuff. And currently all that work is in Praxair's court, and we've been told that their local staff is all supportive of the documents as presented, so now it's just in the legal side. So that should be wrapped up here in the next couple weeks, which would be a big checkbox done and completed. Right. And once that's done, we can really start working towards that closing date more effectively.
So that you feel then confident then from a closing date of middle of October that we could hit that?
I do.
And then,
given the work we've done to date and what we still have left, I think that's very possible.
Where would that put us in terms of actual work on the units, on the buildings?
Well, from a construction standpoint, if they do close in October, they would be able to, excuse me, still get earthwork done, utilities moved likely. You're not going to obviously get to the point where you're putting asphalt down this year, but you would be able to get all your major earthwork done and likely foundations in the ground so that they can be working and framing over the winter months.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
All
I
right.
think that is the goal from what.
Yeah, and
from my
utility
understanding.
relocations is a big one to kind of tooth
What
the
did
schedule.
IPL give us as a lead time on that overhead power unit? I mean,
Anywhere
if he, after we close, I know they won't touch it until then, but
Right.
how much time after that are we talking about?
Anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks. They kind of give us a very, in
It's a
normal.
window.
Yeah, window of 6 to 12 weeks before they would be out there moving. The nice thing about the plan these guys have presented for the commission's benefit, which has kind of been the plan all the way along, but the way they're going to build it now with the earthwork first, they could actually start moving dirt and actually relocating the water line and a few of the other communication lines that need to be done. And actually even start on some foundations on the southern residential buildings, even if IPL takes the full 12 weeks to get there. So the way it's laid out, IPL sits way to the north, which would be the last earthwork piece these guys are going to do. They could start working down here, putting foundations in the ground, wait for IPL to get there, relocate, and then move up to the north side to prepare
Yeah, we
the
can kind of
site.
set the grade. We can work around them to some degree, but yeah, that's a big
Right.
timeline bogey.
How about the water line? I know that was a big issue about, the major water line feeding into Praxair, I take it?
Yeah, it's for one of their plants. It is their primary water line, which I don't think anyone really knew it was there until
So we just
started
pull
planning.
it, and, the thought is to reroute it to the south?
Correct.
Is that right?
We're going to follow the easement now that the town is taking as part of the closing on this sewer line.
Mm-hmm.
The town utilities has agreed to go ahead and put the water line in the same easement, so we're not doubling up on easements, and we can get it very close to the fence, which is where it's going anyway. It's going to serve, it's a 6-inch line, so it's a rather large line that is supplying one of their buildings and/or product lines within their facility.
Okay.
And I believe that's all being coordinated with Praxair, and obviously
Okay.
there'll be more coordination before we actually make the switch.
About keeping their property safe. I mean, they're
Correct.
they're very concerned about security and making sure that nobody wanders over there.
Yep, not only that, but then also production. Yeah, I think it's going to
Right.
be one of these kind of real early in the morning type of switchovers, but those can be done and certainly possible, so that's what we're looking to do with that.
Will we be displacing any of their employees
No,
during construction?
no, we're just moving a fence and then taking care of the water.
And then during construction, do you feel confident that all your contractors and employees that will be working on that building will be off of Main Street?
Yeah,
100%?
yeah, no, and I think that's.
We'll be watching
as
for
we-
pickup trucks.
No, that's fine. I'll be watching as well and ready to call any offenders that might try to drive down Main Street. But I think part of what we're looking to do here is we plan to close. So now we're at the 1 yard line, I think it's a lot of kind of just planning coordination with you all and with Speedway to make sure that we have a logistical construction plan that our contractors are aware of and that we can also enforce both with you and then on our own as well, because last thing we want is creating a big mess on Main Street that people have to deal with, especially given the fact that I think we recognize and, appreciate that there is going to be some disruption, especially on the parking side. So anything we can do to make life is easier, we're certainly trying to investigate and are more than happy to do, so.
I mean, they're all going to have Tim's home phone number, so it doesn't matter.
That's good. He can patrol
We'll
Main
be able to
Street.
get that.
No, disconnect home phone.
I mean, all of your construction traffic's coming off of 16th Street, is that correct?
That's how we'll route
So
it.
you're going to limit any disruption to Main Street traffic flow?
We'll have a whole, with our, and this is something that we're working through with our general contractors right now, but we'll have a whole site logistics plan.
Yeah.
Shield Sexton will have one, CRG will have one, we'll have an overall plan, and we'll make sure that's coordinated with you all, so everything that we're gonna be executing on meets, your expectations and liking, so.
And we're working internally on parking alternatives for Main Street businesses as well, so we're hoping to pull all that together here real soon as well.
Yeah, we'll definitely need to have that nailed down and then have some meetings along with that. David, is there anything you want to add to this? Are you okay? Everything good? Okay, well, no, I just appreciate, the support that you've given on this project. I know that you guys have a financial stake in making sure that this goes well. And I want to, appreciate that publicly, that you're backing Drew and Kyle and making sure this project goes and making sure that the both additions to Speedway are top-notch from that standpoint. Okay. Any other questions?
My question?
Pardon me?
Should I restate my question? Because I asked a couple questions and I thought you'd cover it.
This is it.
Okay. No
Got it.
update on the parking
Yeah.
structure.
No update on it. Anything else?
Well, I think we can address that question. I don't know that I can answer it fully at this time. So, as Mr. Loftus has indicated, they've hired Walker Parking Consultants to look at the parking and maximize it. There's lots of options on the table right now, and nothing's been decided. So, again, it's up to them to bring a solution to the commission, and the commission can vote on that when the solution is actually presented and the numbers are there. David looks like he's getting ready to add to that, so.
David Ravensburg,
Welcome, David.
Skinnell Properties. It's the most loaded question, parking in Speedway. I appreciate the question. The answer isn't an answer because we're working through it. What we're sensitive to is getting the deal done, making sure that the parking we've represented we would deliver to the public is not impacted, and making sure that the assessed value that the town signed up for, which is the real value creation, which isn't always concrete, right? And so I know early on in the process, there was lots of stories that might have grabbed 20% truth and taken what we originally proposed, which is a bigger garage, building over a sanitary line that nobody was ever going to build on. And so from an assessed value perspective, providing more residential units and more hotel suites was the goal of the project. So to not dodge or be flighty with your question, I think the reality is we have a parking deck that we have structured that is super inefficient from a double-loaded perspective on the apartments, and being honoring the easement where you can't touch. And we are trying to evaluate how much money we should be throwing away to create zero parking. And to the extent of if we can create more parking that's valuable to us and ultimately to the town by having a deck, we will do the deck. I think, that's probably the most I can answer it to because that's kind of where we are. But from a bond perspective and a gap perspective on what we're trying to accomplish, it's all based off the assessed value. No assessed value will be tied to anything that's not happening. So
I think that's a sufficient, and that's as far as we know right now. I mean, we can't.
Well, I know that you guys have spent a lot of money in relationship to parking. That you've had several consultants that have brought this through, and then you recently hired, one of the best parking consultants here in the Midwest in relationship to that. So, given that, we'll move forward.
Good deal. Well, thank you for your time this evening.
Thanks for giving the public an update.
Yeah,
on where we're
absolutely. And I'll just add as well that although this has taken some time, we are very much just as excited today, getting ready to start, as we were when we were given our first presentation with you all. So looking forward to it. Thank you.
at. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Okay, we have no new resolutions. Next is new business. Oh, yeah, as far as Speedway Marketplace.
Speedway Marketplace has had a lot of excitement here recently. So the Get-Go gas station, if you've been up there, is moving along rapidly and is gearing. They're putting concrete down on the pad around it. The building shell is up and all the bricks are up, so that's moving along nice. They are working on the courtyard by Marriott, just behind the Get-Go gas station. They recently moved about 400 loads of filled dirt in and compacted it, so we're excited about that because we happen to have 400 loads of dirt that they could use, so we're happy to let them use that. But that project is moving along nicely and will be a nice addition to what took place yesterday, which was technically the soft opening of the D1 Sports facility. It was actually the grand opening of what's called the Factory, which is the Teague family basketball clinic portion of that project. So there was a fantastic turnout yesterday. They had an open house between 1 and 5. We had a ribbon cutting for the Factory. The entire Teague family was out there. And just a lot of good pictures, and you'll hopefully see some press. Actually, Channel 8 will be out there in the morning doing segments all morning long from, I think, 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. At 8 p.m.
Okay, whatever.
It's a long day.
Whatever you say, Jeff.
So about once an hour, they'll do a live cut or do interviews, but it was a really good turnout. There's a lot of support. There's going to be another ribbon cutting. The official D1 Sports ribbon cutting will be, I believe it's September 9th. So we'll be back out there to celebrate that. There's really 3 components to that building. There's a physical therapy, sports medicine portion that is not ready to open yet. The D1 Sports, which is elite athlete training and physical fitness portion. And then the basketball clinics that will be run by the Teague family. So this represents a very significant, about a $4.5 million investment by that family in this community. The building's beautiful. It was great to see support from everybody yesterday, and I hope it's very successful. I believe that the courtyard that's going up next to it's only going to enhance that development. So
Good.
we're excited.
What's Brixmore?
We had a meeting with their entire team as the project to demo the properties next to TJ Maxx. TJ Maxx will be getting a facade upgrade, and then they'll be tearing down the vacant centers next to that and replacing them with some smaller box stores. That is moving forward. There were some additional approvals and some utility issues that we had to work through. I think those have all been worked through. We're checking those boxes. Hopefully we'll see some demolition in the next 30 days and construction shortly after that. So everything's in line. It was great to have their construction team and all our Speedway representatives and all the utility representatives come together in one meeting and make sure we weren't missing anything. So everything seems to be in line. It was good coordination, and they appreciated that effort. So.
Did they tell us, as far as how many square feet are they looking at, or are they?
I'd have to, not off the top of my head. I've seen some of the approvals that have gone through Indianapolis, but I don't remember the exact square footage on that. It's a little larger footprint than it would be here now. The buildings extend out a little further. They'll line up more with TJ Maxx, whereas right now it's kind of set back off.
So it'll be a little bit deeper
Correct.
as far as the
Little deeper.
the space.
And 3 new retailers
Yeah.
in that area. So.
Anything else going on in the shopping center?
There's several new restaurants over by the Kroger side, I believe. There's a Mexican restaurant that'll be opening up and a kebab restaurant, I believe I heard correctly. So that portion of the center is actually filling up pretty quickly. So there's some movement there, and I know that there's still plans in the long term to fix some of the parking issue, or not parking, stuck in my mind. Some of the traffic flow issues, some of the flow issues there, because it really does
Kind
get
of
jammed up.
restriping of some of the existing
We're looking at
or actual,
some actual, trying to adjust the flow, maybe change some of the entrances through there and how that flows through there, because it really does back up at certain times of the day. So there's nothing on the table at this point. It's kind of preliminary, but I think there's a desire to do a more extensive fix in that area. What was that, Parkwood? Is that
Yeah.
Parkwood there? So more to come on that one. Like I said, there's nothing immediate, but we are taking a look at it because we know it's a big issue. So.
Right, and that's a private road.
That is a private road. It's public for about 100 feet on the north and the south end, and then it's private in between. So, which is a little unusual setup, especially for how much traffic goes through there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. 2500 North High School Road.
We continue to do due diligence. There continues to be interest in that property, so we're hoping to start discussing that property more. I was able to meet with some environmental consultants to kind of take a look at it. We're investigating the I'm hesitant to call it a stream, But the waterway that kind of goes through there, we're looking at entranceways. We know we have to fix 25th and High School. How we incorporate access into 2500 High School Road is to be determined. So we're trying to look at all options there and see what makes the most sense. So just trying to check boxes on as many of the early investigations we can on that property to kind of have a plan moving forward. And hopefully we'll sit down and talk to some development firms here in the next 30 to 60 days and start making some progress on that property.
Good.
So,
Look forward to see what they have in mind. No new resolutions on new business. We got approval of issuing an RFP for 2828 North High School Road. You let us know about that.
yeah, so we were getting quotes to knock that building down. It's in pretty bad shape. You might know it as the Rotes Engineering Building on High School Road. As we were getting quotes, we started getting interest in the building. We looked back in our files and we had never put that property out for an RFP for proposals. So what we're requesting tonight is that the SRC approves us moving forward with getting notice out for an RFP to repurpose that building, which would be great, putting it back on the tax rolls and fixing it up. It had some water damage, some mold in there, so it'd be exciting to get that back on and serviceable with some new jobs in there.
Absolutely.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we proceed with the development of a request for proposal for the 2828 North High School Road location.
I'll second that.
Yeah, you can motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? We'll go ahead and proceed. Next, the approval for the environmental testing of 4300 West 10th Street. What's going on there?
So we have one parcel left. It's behind Delara, and it's, you might know it more commonly as the big dirt pile. So we continue, we are getting quotes on both removing the dirt off that parcel. We were able to use some on the courtyard project. There's a little bit of interest from others. That was debris from when they did Main Street and some of those other road projects. So unfortunately, it's not a good time to be moving that dirt. Companies are really busy. We're hoping to do it a little bit into winter when things calm down a little bit. So we'll see what the quotes come back on. In the interim, for us to be able to consider development on that parcel, that's the one parcel in the Main Street area that has not had its environmental testing done, commonly Phase 1, Phase 2. So we would like to move forward on that, get those testings done while we're working on moving the dirt off there. So once that parcel is clean and ready to go, we're able to make moves on it, whether it's something with an existing business or an outside business. There's a lot of interest right now in Speedway. We have a lot of leads coming with very little property to be able to do anything. So it's to our advantage to at least have that parcel ready to go when those opportunities come up. And right now that parcel is not ready to go. So we want to take the steps necessary. We anticipate the environmental testing to be around little less than $20,000 for what would be equivalent of up to a Phase 2. And the dirt, as I mentioned, we're still trying to get estimates on what it takes to remove that.
So the dirt's going to have to be moved first before we...
You can actually do the testing with the dirt still on site, so that is not a problem.
Does that pile drive your cost up? I mean, as far as, the environmental testing because of its elevation?
No, they basically drive right through it. The dirt has actually been tested on there. That's why we were able to use it in the project.
But you got to get through that all the
We
way
got to
down
get
to
through that to
subsurface.
test under it,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, it's a majority of that property. So, it really doesn't affect the price that much. They just drive right through it, and it's loose dirt. So it's just they got to go a little deeper. Is the only difference. So. But yeah, we want to get that moving so we don't miss any opportunities that might arise here, so.
Okay.
Well, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to proceed with the environmental testing of the property located at 4300 West 10th Street.
It's really
Gilman
it.
Street parcel.
Yeah, it's really on Gilman and Allison Way.
Yeah, I should clarify that. It
It's
is.
not on 10th Street.
It is actually on
sorry.
Gilman, but the address in the system, the Indianapolis system, still has it at 4300 West 10th Street because this parcel was part of the Allison plant too at the time.
And that's how we did the environmental testing before. That
Correct.
we did was on the Allison plant too.
Yeah.
So I get approval for proceed with testing.
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
Okay, all those in favor? Approved?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, go ahead and get that. We'll still approve the claims as they come through. Any old business on the commission?
Nothing.
Anything else come before the commission tonight?
I would like to note, Dr. Reed pointed out that the commission had a claim on Indiana unclaimed when that came out, so we have Tim Ramey and looking into that and is making some progress.
Oh,
So
really?
We'll
What
make
was
sure we get our name off that list.
It was from the sale of or the purchase of the American Inn property next to Coles.
Oh, the American Inn?
Right.
Way back.
As far as the money that was put down on the property?
Escrow money.
Escrow
Yeah, it
money,
was
that
escrow
wasn't
money.
claimed at the time of closing? Oh, we are.
So we're
Good to know.
clearing that up.
Who,
I appreciate you pointing
who
that out.
closed on that? Do you know? Was that Stewart Title or who was it?
Yes, it was Stewart Title.
Okay. If nothing else, I'll call for adjournment. It is 6:36. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.